Great name. Webster Griffin Tarpley is an academic. He has written several books, none of which I hereby endorse. There is 9/11 Synthetic Terror, which says the 9/11 attacks were made up. They were fake. They were an inside job. In 2012, he branched out to Just Too Weird, Bishop Romney and the Mormon Takeover of America. In that one, he says Mormonism isn't actually a religion. It's a synthetic ideology sponsored by British intelligence as part of a covert warfare campaign against the United States. Okay. There's also this one, which says President Obama is actually the puppet of Jimmy Carter's national security advisor, who installed Obama in order to bring, you know what, who cares, right? You get the idea. But it will arrive before Christmas if you order now. If you want to get truly weird with this guy, though, there's also Webster Griffin Tarpley's truly wacky conspiracy theory that the incoming First Lady of the United States is out to get him. She's sending high-priced, high-powered lawyers after him for defamation in what sure looks like an effort to intimidate journalists and bloggers and bankrupt him. Actually, that last one is true. In September, the next First Lady, Melania Trump, she filed a defamation lawsuit against old wacky Mr. Tarpley over one of his blog posts. He had blogged that it was, quote, widely known that Melania Trump was not working as a model when she first came to the United States, but as a high-end escort. In fact, that is not widely known, and there is no evidence of that. He also claimed, though, that the future First Lady was having a nervous breakdown after the plagiarism scandal surrounding her speech at the Republican convention. There is also no evidence and no reporting to suggest that either. But again, this is the guy who says Mormonism is a British intelligence plot. And President Obama is a secret Jimmy Carter puppet. So who cares, right? Rather than let this nutbird stuff just dissipate on its own, which it does, the future First Lady decided to sue Webster Griffin Tarpley. She also sued the Daily Mail, which is a not particularly well-regarded tabloid in the UK. Daily Mail published similar allegations. Mrs. Trump's lawyer said in a statement that the blog posts from Mr. Tarpley and what the Daily Mail published, they were actions, quote, so egregious, malicious, and harmful to Mrs. Trump that her damages are estimated at $150 million. But you know what? That was September. That was the heat of the presidential campaign. Both the conspiracy theory guy and the Daily Mail removed the posts in question. They both issued apologies. They both issued retractions. And now that Melania Trump is going to be First Lady of the United States, you might expect that the First Lady wouldn't be suing every conspiracy theory website and, you know, lower than usual tabloid that prints any made-up stuff about her. You'd expect that. But now, not only is the lawsuit going forward, the soon-to-be First Lady, Melania Trump, last week, she went all the way to Maryland to be in the courtroom in person for this case. And this was not for critical testimony or anything. This was a routine scheduling conference. This is like the lawyers and the judge just working out future court dates. Hardly any plaintiff ever shows up to these things. But there was the incoming First Lady in person in that Maryland courtroom last week. She showed up. And her attorney said about that, quote, Mrs. Trump was not required to attend the court conference, but chose to do so to meet the judge, meet opposing counsel, and show her commitment to this case. He said she looks forward to seeing the case through to a successful conclusion. Here's the really interesting part. That lawyer's name is Charles Harder. His history here is very important. He has proved himself on a case like this before. Charles Harder was the lawyer in the Hulk Hogan case. When Hulk Hogan sued the website Gawker for posting that sex tape of him, Charles Harder, the lawyer, and Hulk Hogan, they prevailed in that lawsuit against Gawker. They won a $140 million judgment against Gawker, a judgment that bankrupted that entire media company and shut down Gawker.com. And you may remember what we what we learned at the end of that case, which is where that case came from. Silicon Valley billionaire Peter Thiel secretly financed the Hulk Hogan lawsuit with the express purpose of destroying Gawker and putting it out of business, because Peter Thiel had a personal grudge against Gawker. He didn't like the way they covered him, and he's a billionaire. So he used his limitless financial resources to drive them out of existence. And Peter Thiel is now a member of Donald Trump's presidential transition team. He's the guy who convened his new boss's round table of tech executives a few days ago, where the president-elect thanked him for doing such a good job picking and choosing which companies got to come to that meeting. The incoming First Lady of the United States is using the same lawyer that he used to destroy a media company to pursue her own defamation suits against websites who say unkind things about her. The president-elect's point person on technology is the man who forced a media company out of business because he didn't like the way they covered him and he tried to do it secretly. And they are each in the near orbit of the president-elect, who still daily denounces the American news media as dishonest, and who spent part of last week attacking a magazine that ran a bad review of one of his restaurants. That's what he's concerning himself with a month before he becomes freaking president of the United States. You don't have to be in the news business to be a little worried about the news business right now. Hold that thought.